Welcome into CHGO Tavern Style. I'm Sean Anderson of CHGO White Sox.
Kevin Wells, CHGO Cubs.
He's making his Tavern Style debut. CHGO Tavern Style is presented by Salerno's Pizza. Head over to the Grand Ave location and call 312-666-3444 to make a reservation today. On today's show, we'll be talking about, is Jed Hoyer a good general manager? As the Cubs fan in this conversation, how much pain are you in?
A lot.
Yeah?
A lot.
I mean,
yeah,
it's seven of their last
ruthless.
8 series they've lost.
It's been ruthless.
Only beating the White Sox. So you're welcome.
And barely beating the White Sox.
Right.
Like 2 miraculous comebacks to beat the White Sox. I mean, yeah, it's been painful.
Everyone comes back against the White Sox, though, so I don't know how miraculous it is. It's just kind of dirty work. I think most people overlook the White Sox, and then they get down and they're like, oh, we should probably start trying. And then they start trying, and they win.
I think I was legitimately scared, though, that they were going to lose at least 1 out of 2, and those were 2 games that they needed to have. They found a way, but, I mean, it's like it is similar to the White Sox. I watched them the last couple nights. It's a new, painful way of losing every night. Like, they just find a new, like last night they get walked off. The other day it was balks. You know, it's one stupid defensive play or bad Nick Madrigal getting thrown out at home against the Red Series like over a week ago. It's just something new everywhere. And I did not expect this from a Jed Hoyer team that's supposed to be built on pitching and defense. And right now it's pathetically bad.
Yeah, and hopefully PCA will elevate the defense the more he plays. Nico has been fairly consistent, but I don't know how concerned you are over Swanson and Gomes. Obviously, Gomes has just been a nightmare. I don't know if Miguel Amaya is still emerging or if you guys have kind of figured out his cap, but a lot of this up-the-middle stuff seems to be a little shaky. You have Morel, too, at third, and it seems like they're getting a little bit iffy on him even playing third anymore. Like, do you feel like there's a way out of it, and by August they'll have this defensive stuff cleaned up, whether it be just the players getting better themselves or, you know, Jed Hoyer going out and making these acquisitions?
Think about everything you just asked. Listen to all those question marks you just had for a playoff team or a team that's supposed to be a playoff team.
I didn't even ask about hitting home runs.
Yeah. I mean, you just named off 5 different question marks, and let me start with the catching position. I think Miguel Amaya was one of their most coveted guys coming up a few years ago. They decided to give him full reign this year. He's not ready. Yeah. He's shown you he's not ready. He's a AAA catcher right now, but he's getting the majority of the run because he's contributing more than Yan Gomes is. Yan Gomes is fine as a backup catcher playing once a week. I think he's almost a -1.5 WAR right now, so he's obviously the drop-off from him was to be expected, though. He's 38 years old. He's been around a long time. The Cubs need to desperately make a move for a catcher, and they've needed to do it now for 2 weeks. Now they should have done it yesterday. They should do it tonight. Like it is the biggest hole on the roster at the moment.
And that's where Jed Hoyer comes in. Stop by Salerno's on tap over at 1201 West Grand Ave in Chicago's Westtown and enjoy their tavern-style pizza and ice-cold beers, whether you're headed to the game or watching the Sox and Cubs on their big screen TVs or watching from home. They've got you covered. Go to Salerno'sPizza.com or call 312-666-3444. Mention CHGO and get half off your pizza. 312-666-3444. Mention CHGO to get half off.
Half every
off your
time
pizza every time. And again, it's half off the price,
that.
not the pizza. That's a joke that I've done once, and then Herb's just kind of driven it into the ground. Anyways, I just don't think Jed is truly the guy that would go out there and shake up this team. I don't think that he's going to be a guy at the deadline that is going to make that big splash move to get that power bat that's needed, to get that catcher upgrade that's needed. It seems like he's fairly beholden to his crop of players. And it seems like, again, this team seems very similar to last year. And it seems like the similar struggles of last year. Outside of the great pitching, whether it be Steele last year or Imanaga this year, you're still looking for consistency in the rotation, and you're not really finding it. Nope. And the bullpen has just been brutal. I know it was a little bit better last year, and ALLCITY obviously was a lot better last year. Now he's injured, but it just feels like the same exact team, and it does feel like if the owner is not letting you go out and spend and get over certain thresholds, and he's putting an emphasis on the minor leagues, it feels like Jed won't have the true freedom that he should have to make upgrades to this team, because it seems like a lot of GMs are worried about giving up prospects because what could be, but I think really as long as you're not touching who's the kid from Oklahoma?
Cade Horton.
As long as you're not touching Cade Horton and Matt Shaw in PCA, I think you could trade anyone.
I said that almost exact thing a couple of months ago on CHGO Cubs. I don't know. I'm not in the mind of Tom Ricketts or Jed Hoyer on who gets to spend what and how much you get to spend where. Jed has done a very, very good job of rebuilding the minor league system. He's done a very good job of rebuilding the pitching infrastructure. Craig Breslow, who went to Boston, obviously had a huge part in that. They've developed pitching, and they've made pretty much every good move you want to, but the offense has not been there. And yes, you are at this point now where everything is magnified. You are in your winning window. You're paying a manager $8 million. Those guys in your minor league system, you don't have space for them on your roster. Your roster's so unbalanced. Your major league roster right now is unbalanced. Your best hitters in the minor leagues are 2 outfielders. You already have 5 outfielders on your major league roster. You need, by the way, like Owen Casey and Kevin Alcantara and, whoever else, I'm missing a name.
It was Brendan Davis.
They're good players. I think that they have the ceiling to be good players. They don't have that superstar reach. Matt Shaw and Cade Horton do. Those guys aren't being touched. Why the hesitation to hold on to certain guys like that when there are players like Juan Soto available in the offseason? I don't understand. Mm-hmm. I know that they'll never give out a $500 million contract. They'll never operate like that. But at this point, you're looking at a clear indication of malpractice with how this roster was formed this year. You didn't get a star, and you built on pitching and defense, pitchers who throw ground balls, and then you didn't go get a third baseman who's supposed to be a good defensive third baseman. I mean, everything is out of whack.
Well, and I think part of being a good GM is kind of realizing what was an outlier and what wasn't. And I think you could just look at Cody Bellinger's performance against lefties last year and just say, oh, that's a complete outlier. A guy that has never been really, that great at hitting the same handedness. And he's like, 150 weighted runs created plus against the same handedness pitcher? Like, yeah. It seems like there's a clear way for him to get worse. And it's not like Belly's been unplayable like a certain left fielder.
He's still been their best player
for
this
the White
year,
Sox.
yeah.
Right, but it's still not a star. He's still not really worth the $30 million, even though Jed referred to it as a steal. I will say credit to Jed, and you mentioned it with Breslow going to the Red Sox. We've talked a lot about it with the Southsiders, that I think a good sign of a healthy and thriving organization is other people from the outside getting picked. And the White Sox never have anyone from the coaching staffs or from the front office being the outside hire of a different organization. I think it's a really good sign that Craig Breslow not only is having success in Boston, but also was looked upon from somebody else, a different organization, and was coveted. And I think that's at least a check in the side of Hoyer being a good GM. And maybe it is on the owner in Ricketts and his biblical losses more than Hoyer limiting that GM. Because if it is Theo, I don't know if it's a bigger budget. I don't know because Jed's the other guy, if it's a bigger budget. But I'm with you. Like, you saw what the Dodgers did with Ohtani. I mean, just what's it called? Put him on layaway. And, pay him $2 million Soto next year, and then, pay him in 2045 if the Earth still exists. Pay him $500 million then.
I have been a Jed Hoyer defender, and I still am. I think he is good at his job. I think that pitching-wise, if you look at the track record and some of the trades that they've made, Ben Brown for David Robertson is the one that's foresight right now. You're looking right at it because Ben Brown has been very good this year to start out. You're looking at
PCA deal.
Yeah, I mean, those little trades, even the Michael Busch trade looks like it's going to work out for them. Mm-hmm. He's made the trades on the margins for pitching, but I will tell you, there are 2 glaring issues right now. You mentioned one of them, slugging, and the lack of a fireballer in the back of that bullpen. They had a guy in their building last year, in Jeremiah Estrada, who, if they just put out an article about him today, how he's one of the most dominant relief pitchers in all of baseball. They let him walk for nothing. I know that everyone's going to miss on a pitcher every once in a while, but the Cubs did it with Kyle Schwarber, and now they've done it with Jeremiah Estrada. You can't let talent like that helps you win these one-run games on the margins walk out of your building for nothing. And now that we're looking at the Cubs closer because they're in a contending window, those are the types of mistakes that get you fired. And especially with a big market team, he is really, the trades have been good, but unfortunately the mistakes kind of bring you right back to middle ground. I mean, there's no high or low right now with Jed, and that's, and Carter Hawkins, same way. I mean, the pitching is good. The pitching development is good. Now it's time to start developing some other guys and give those guys a chance. When you pull a guy up from the minor leagues, let him play. Don't let him sit in the bullpen for a week and you're using guys and Neris all over again and you're blowing saves. Give some other guys a chance. Is it a development year? Is it not? Pick a lane, stick with it. Because right now they're like, oh, it's a development year, but also we want to win. But also it's too confusing, man. Pick a lane. That's on Jed for not picking a lane.
I could help you pick a lane. I could be your Google Maps. I can get you to the right route.
What would you do? What would you want them to do right now?
Oh, I mean, you talked about slugging. You talked about needing a fireballer in the bullpen. How about Corey Julks and Michael Kopech?
I don't have any interest in Corey Julks.
Come on. He's got nearly a 500 slugging percentage.
They don't need another outfielder.
Oh, yeah. They need somebody who can hit the damn ball. Corey Julks, game changer.
I think if you're the Cubs right now.
Who's playing left field for you?
Ian Happ. He's been pretty good the last
Who's
couple
the DH?
weeks. Depends on the night.
Yeah, no. Corey Julks is your everyday DH. There you go.
What Counsell likes to use the DH as a rotating piece, which I think is very smart. Not having an everyday DH is a good thing organizationally because you can get guys in and out of the lineup. That's good. But right now, the problem is their clear DH and where their roster would be strongest is if Morel is DHing and they go out and make a move at third. But they didn't do that. And it's really biting them in the ass right now. He's not a third baseman, and he never will be a third baseman.
I know the Cubs are in a difficult spot. I think they're still close to the 6th spot. And I know the Giants aren't doing too well. I mean, I know you missed out on them originally, but I mean, Matt Chapman doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah.
I know.
Sign me up.
He's got a real...
Wouldn't cost a lot either. He wouldn't cost a top 100 prospect.
Yeah, I mean, especially because it's just 1 year.
Yeah, he wouldn't cost a top 100 guy, and that's the thing. That's the other thing. Everyone's freaking out about prospects and stuff, and I get it. But, you don't trade your top unless it's Juan Soto or, Yu Darvish or some of these other, top-end level guys. You're not trading a top 100 guy at the deadline for a rental. That doesn't happen in baseball anymore.
And even then, I mean, I could tell you about the top 100 players that have come up with the White Sox. I think since 2016, they've had 21 top 100 prospects, which isn't a ton. But usually, teams have 1 to 3 in the top 100. Mm-hmm. And one guy makes it. Eloy, you guys know about Eloy Jimenez. He was a Cubs prospect for a bit there. Just really hasn't hit the mark. Moncada really hasn't hit the mark. These guys got extensions because the White Sox believed in that talent, and hey, we'll give you the playing time to figure it out. But out of the top 3 position players, Moncada, Jimenez, and Robert's the only one that hit. And you have ask Philly fans right now, would you trade your top 2 prospects for him? They're like, no, that's too much. So
Moncada, or for who?
For Robert.
Oh, if you're the Phillies, I mean, you're in your window.
Yeah. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what?
Aiden
He's
Miller
got 3 years of control. Yeah, no, you make
Andrew
that trade.
Painter. Yes, come on.
You make that.
Johan Rojas is your current center fielder.
Especially because you got Bryce Harper who can't play the outfield anymore. That trade would make perfect sense for them.
And you know who walks? Bryce Harper. Yeah. You know who could drive him in? Luis Robert Jr.
Yeah.
And you just lost Real Muto. I don't know for how long at catcher, so that's going to be 10-day.
Well, Dombrowski's the dream GM for every sports franchise. He's aggressive, and he really doesn't miss a lot. The contracts and stuff that he's given out, that Bryce Harper contract, man.
Don't talk to me about it.
We were talking to steal, and we knew, and the smart baseball fans knew the day that was signed. They're like, "Wow, $25 million AAV. Holy cow, this is the other." Like $300 million. Yeah, look at it now.
You're going to get me in trouble. We talked about this on Monday, and then I tweeted out the Jeff Passan article from when he was still at Yahoo about Bryce Harper meeting with the White Sox. And Bryce Harper, and then someone was like, why are you bringing this up? It's because I'm having a conversation about it. I mean, I'm just trying to have a conversation with Kevin, and he's stabbing me in the back bringing up Bryce Harper. Yeah, it would have been a great contract. Yeah. Manny Machado would have been a great contract,
I wanted
too.
Harper on the Cubs, man. Wanted him so bad.
If only. I mean, the last time a team, one of our teams went out and truly... went out and got a top free agent. I guess it would be Swanson, but even then, I mean, Trey Turner was the true top shortstop of that crop. Maybe Lester was the last time.
Lester and
Soriano.
Soriano was a good signing too. I mean, it's hard to look. And Luke and I were having a really good conversation about this. It was on the couch yesterday about how those 07-08 Cubs teams that one of them almost won 100 games. I think they both almost won 100 games. Were so fun, and their bench players were very solid off the margins. Jed has failed miserably trying to get guys, like, make guys play and those the free agent signings that are not supposed to be stars, but are supposed to come in and make an impact. Trey Mancini, Eric Hosmer, Tucker Barnhart. Ugh. Those guys aren't even in the league anymore. All three. I think Barnhart's with Arizona now, but come on, man.
I don't disagree with you. And I think, you just answered it. Is Jed Hoyer a good general manager? He's worse than Jim Hendry.
We all silly like the mayor.